So, are you guys here to hear a great, good Christian feel-good story?
I need one.
You need one. Okay, we gotta know, we gotta need one. For those, yes, sir. This young man needs a Bible to look at. Unfortunately, we do not, gentlemen up front, we will get you one in 1 second. But while we're doing that and waiting for that, and thank you for doing that. Oh, thank you.
Oh, wait, did anybody else read? I thought I read this in the newspaper or some site. President Obama has commissioned somebody to rewrite the Bible. Anyone else see that?
I will put that off until in a class. Have not heard that. That could be one of those random things, and I don't think his ego will go that far. So I'm just I give a benefit of the doubt because at this time we're living in a time of fear, but doesn't that reflect on the leadership that we're getting from certain areas? Now, what I was saying earlier, folks, you want to hear the real good part. You say you need a good uptick. Okay, here it is. Your uptick, good part, feel good Christian part is in 1 Samuel 13, 1 Samuel 13, verses 1 through 4. Here it goes. This is your feel good moment of the class here, so here you go. Saul reigned for 1 year, and when he had reigned 2 years over Israel, Saul chose him 3,000 men of Israel, whereof 2,000 were with Saul in Michmash and in Mount Bethel, and 1,000 were with Jonathan, his son, in Gibeah of Benjamin, and the rest of the people he sent every man to his tent. And Jonathan smote the garrison of the Philistines that was in Geba, and the Philistines heard of it. And Saul blew the trumpet throughout all the land, saying, Let the Hebrews hear. And all Israel heard say that Saul had smitten a garrison of the Philistines, and that Israel also was had in abomination with the Philistines. And the people were called together after Saul to Gilgal. That's your feel-good moment, folks. And you guys are in shock, but that's it. And this whole thing from 13, 14, 15, that's the best feel-good moment. That's it. You're probably going, what are you talking about? Saul had, let me give you a little backstory. We've been studying Samuel. Samuel is born from Hannah. Hannah does this sacrifices and says, look, I really want a child. I'll give you my child. If you give me a child, I'll get dedicated to you, Lord. That child is Samuel. Then we have to deal with Eli and his misgotten sons who wrecked everything so bad that they lost the Ark of the Covenant. People died, a lot of them. And we go through this whole thing, and then after all this, with God fighting on his own to bring back the Ark of the Covenant on his own, the people say, we want a king. And here's the funny thing, God was their king. And at some point, which I don't think we hit on last week, God was going to give them a king at some point because it was in the law of Deuteronomy. It was there, but it wasn't that point. But certain people, and also because of Samuel's sons not living like Samuel himself, wanted a king like the rest of the nations. Ms. Roberta, is that a good thing to have a king like the rest of the nations? No. You wanted God. But they tell us today we should be like the rest of the nations, right?
That's what they're all calling it.
You have to just spoil this good feeling a good thing of, being like the rest of the nations is a good thing. It's a good thing. There we go. Yeah. So we get this guy, Saul. And as you can see, for 1 year, it was great. Right down 1 year, it was great.
That's what they thought.
Yeah, well, okay. Then we get to year 2. And he goes out and he picks a fight with the Philistines. He invades a country he probably should have never did. That's a good thing, right, Chris?
No.
Oh, no, okay, that's a bad thing. Okay, this is the bright part of the whole chapter here. I mean, this whole 3 chapters. I mean, serious, this is your, take this and be positive, and this is preach happy.
Okay.
That's your positive thing out of this. Well, you know, I tried here. But you see, and he tells, and then he even allows everybody to go home. So this is great. People are going back from this thing they started, and all the people get to go home, right? This is a great idea. It's a great idea. So this is positive. But, well, can I have somebody read for me verses 5 through 10 of 1 Samuel chapter 13? Where?
Okay, and Saul came to a city of Amalek.
Is it chapter 13, verse 5 through 10? 1 Samuel.
Down Philistine.
The Philippines Assembly
Chapter 13.
13. 1
Go ahead and read it, ma'am.
he said, the Philippines assembled to fight Israel with 3,000 carriers, 6,000 carriers, and soldiers as numerous as the sand of the seashore. They went up and camped at the
Michmash.
Michmash, east to Beth Aven. When the men of Israel saw that their situation was critical and that their army was hard pressed, they hid and caved in and secretly among the rock and pits and cisterns. Some Hebrew even crossed the Jordan to the land of God and Galilee. Until what?
Verse 10.
Okay. Saul remained at
Gilgal.
and all the troops with him were quaking with fear. He waited 7 days, the time set by Samuel, but Samuel did not come to Gilgal, and Saul's men began to scatter. So he said, bring me the burnt offering and the fellowship offering. And Saul offered up the burnt offering. Just as he finished making the offering, Samuel arrived and Saul went out to greet him.
Thank you, ma'am. This is a great idea, wasn't it? Okay. For those who are trying to figure out what loony guy is doing here, he picks this battle with this group of people that are way outnumbered him, because we read in verse 5 that that the Philistines have 30,000 chariots, 6,000 horsemen. Israel's number is what, 3,000 men of Israel? And he sent some people home. Well, you know, it's a more refined and focused army, right, Bonnie? It's a more fine and refined, focused army that Israel has, so they should be able to beat them, right?
They had technical weapons.
They had technical weapons. They had Star Wars.
Yeah, that's Star Wars.
Star Wars.
That's what they did. Yeah, I thought it was, if you had more men, that was the better thing.
I'm going to walk away from, yes, sir. You're wondering about the technical weapons. I think they had a slingshot, a spear, running water near a river. But I think we're seeing some problems with this strategy, because it doesn't look like Saul had a good grasp of this. Little side note. Wes, did Saul ask God any of this when he said?
No.
No. Really? Okay, that might be a problem. Let's read on here. Let's see, and it said, the people as the sand which is on the seashore in the multitude. And they said, you know, the men of Israel were okay with this, right? Verse 6, you know. Oh, no, wait a minute. The people were distressed, right? And some of these guys were like trembling and running. But the king had, you know, these 3,000 men around him. So he was safe, right? Because it's all about saving the king, right?
Yeah.
Didn't they earlier say, you know, God said something about if you have a king, he would take your best and put them around you and around him and, you know. So right now we have the people of Israel, okay, we're not listening to God. It's Saul's show. He sent people home. They don't have enough people. And everybody's starting to get nervous, right? But we okay, right? We're all okay. We'll be fine. You know, we're Israel. We're cool. They tried this once before, didn't they? They tried to do this on their own. And, no, they went out there, they took the Ark of the Covenant, and they lost it. So this can't happen again, right? They don't have the Ark of the Covenant out there yet. So everything should be fine, right, Don? Everything should be fine.
Well, that was open.
I guess so.
They put their trust in.
And look at this. Saul said, I got this. Everybody calm down. You know, I'm hearing the rumors on CNN. I'm hearing all these things, all these problems with my campaign here. What we're going to do, we're going to do like any good religious group. Mike, we're in 1 Samuel 13 around verse 9. And we're going to do like any good religious Christian group. We're going to pray. We're going to pray and we're going to sacrifice. Because that's what we need to do right now. This is going to fix it. Right, Craig? This will fix the problem. Everybody will calm down and we're just going to do a sacrifice. Okay, y'all not looking excused about this. Anybody know the problem with what Saul does in 9 and 10?
Well, he goes.
Go ahead.
He goes out and sacrifice himself.
He does a sacrifice. He ain't supposed to do that? Okay. Fine.
Well, I kind of backtracked up a little bit, and, you know, God had said, the Lord will not abandon his people on account of his great name, because the Lord has been pleased to make you a people for himself. And then later on down there, it says, but if you still do wickedly, both you and your king will be swept away.
I try to make this a nice, happy story. It's not helping, yes.
He didn't wait for the time.
Oh, he
More
didn't.
than that he received before.
Oh, he didn't wait. So somebody's not trusting God in this, right? That's not happening today, right? We don't just rush ahead of things personally, or in our country. We don't wait just, you know, God's kind of, we're not a Christian nation no more, so it's okay. It's fine. But Saul, let me just clue you guys in on this one, which I think you already know this. Saul can't do this because he's not a priest. He stepped into a role he shouldn't be stepping into. In other words, folks, this is Samuel's job. There's not a priest king until, spoiler alert, David. Saul has taken it upon himself to, because people, you know, how people, you know, they get in GQ, they get on E, they get on Wendy Williams, they talk all this gossip. And, you know, Mike, you know, if gossip come up, we got to do something about it because, you know, we don't want to look bad. You know, if I break up with Taylor Swift, I want to get control of this situation, which probably ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
I'll just shake that off. Anyway, but this is what we're dealing with.
Yeah. If you want to exude power and that you know what you're doing, and you do that, sometimes when you fail, you have to cover it up.
Saul doesn't do that. Well, okay, well, we haven't got to the rest of the story yet. Now we get to verse 10, and Saul's done his thing. He's cleaned himself up, but the minute it was done, here comes Samuel. Uh-oh. Can I have somebody read for me verses 11 through 15?
But Samuel said, "What is this you have done?" Well, Saul replied, when I saw that my men were scattering from me, and that you hadn't arrived by the time you said you would, and that the Philistines and the Mishmash were at Mishmash ready for battle, I said, the Philistines are ready to march against us, and I haven't even asked for the Lord's help. So I reluctantly offered the burnt offering without waiting for you to arrive. You fool, Samuel exclaimed. You have destroyed the commandment of the Lord your God. He was planning to make you and your descendants kings of Israel forever. But now your dynasty must end, for the Lord wants men who will obey him. And he has destroyed the man, and he has discovered the man he wants, and has already appointed him as king over his people. For you have not obeyed the Lord's commandment.
Mm-hmm.
Samuel then left Gilgal and went to
Gibeah.
Gibeah in the land of Benjamin. When Saul counted the soldiers who were still with him, he found only 600 left.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to try to explain this in real terms that everybody can easily understand here. Samuel shows up, walks in, and says, "What are you doing? What is this? What are you doing?" And of course, Saul answers this in the best way he can. Well, you see, what had happened was the people started leaving, and you weren't here, and because you weren't here, and the Philistines were coming up, and so I hadn't thought, we hadn't consulted the Lord on this. You can think about this before you invaded the place. I ain't consulted the Lord, and I just, under stress, I didn't really want to do it. I just did this thing in this sacrifice. So, things happen, Samuel, right?
I mean, Saul he couldn't have had respect or fear for the Lord.
Ooh.
Because they knew back in that time, that during the temple times, that when a priest went in to do the sacrifices and stuff, they literally had to tie a rope around his ankle, so that if he did something wrong and the Lord took him, they could pull him back out because nobody was supposed to go in there. I mean, he knew how important this was, so he must have been that big-headed about himself.
You say this was an ego pride thing?
I'm thinking.
Oh, man.
In the NB version, he said, "I have not asked for the favor of the Lord, so I forced myself."
It was a tough decision.
He said, "I forced myself."
It was a tough decision because, Mike?
Yeah, they said that some of his men began to kind of act a little nervous and started walking away. And he was the powerful leader. And it had to be rough for him to see people beginning to lose faith in him as a leader and start walking. Make an excuse to say, maybe we want to leave this guy.
But who's his face supposed to be in?
Right. It was the Lord.
Oh.
He thought he was the one that was.
So we're also dealing with, thank you, Mike, but we're also dealing with, remember the whole thing with Judges? Everybody did what was right in their own eyes. Not many people were knowledgeable about God or the customs and everything because Eli screwed up. Let's just be honest. Eli screwed up and his sons weren't any good at it. And now we have Saul because, it's all about me. So if I were to go on TV and I'm doing general, folks, so don't know I get upset here, but, I'm going to go there. And, everybody's upset about my campaign manager and people starting to leave and we have a chance to win this one as president or leader. So I got to make changes in my administration, right, John? Got to change make those changes because we want people to stay on and support us. So I'm going to have some people get fired. I mean, they're going to leave out gracefully and everything. We're going to do the right thing and we can keep going with our campaign. No. And we'll get to the point where we're going to see when Samuel really goes off on them. And what did, you know, I think Samuel took it well when he heard the explanation, right? Right? What did Samuel say? What did he call him? Specific word?
Fool. That's what I said.
Fool, huh? And why was he a fool? He didn't keep the commandment of the Lord thy God, which he commanded thee, for now would the Lord have established thy kingdom upon Israel forever. God doesn't like foolishness. So Saul, who was picked to be the first ever king, has now lost it because he was foolish. Well, that's not politically correct. That's not tolerant. I mean, the man made a mistake, right? It was a costly mistake. And you know, some people still, let's look at the bright side. Let's try to make it a little fluffy here. Look at the bright side, now, you know. Wait a minute, verse 14, before I can even get, let's keep going there. But now thy kingdom shall not continue. The Lord hath sought him a man after his own heart. And the Lord hath commanded him to be captain over his people, because thou hast not kept that which the Lord commanded you. You're fired. And I already have your replacement already. That's what God is basically saying. But it looks like, you know, Samuel took, you know, Saul still got some guys, right? Because Samuel left, no big deal. He still got about 600 men against 30,000 chariots and 6,000 horsemen and people that are like sand, which is on the seashore. It's great. We're going to do well, right? All because Saul thought about how it would look if he gets embarrassed. Sometimes when you're in leadership, you have to deal with those days that you're not doing well, you drop the ball, and it's hard. But if you're called to be where you are, you're going to get through those days. If you're in your work situation and you have a bad work day, keep persevering. Don't be so quick to change because certain people are talking. Yes, ma'am.
If something is passing right now in that situation that we live in, if we don't take the Bible or to apply in with life, we are going to be foolish people in front of God's eyes. If something past something that Saul did in that time, we can do the same right now. We don't take seriously the word of God in our life and apply.
I mean, all of us came, thank you, all of us came here to learn something today, to hear a word from God. But there's unfortunately people that just come because their favorite pastor is here. They come because it's the religious right thing to do. It's part of the process. Or they get in a little trouble, they come by, and it's part of the process. God says, I'm more interested in process. And more than interested in your process, I'm more interested in where you're going and where you're headed. Now, Saul still had his Jonathan and everything else, and I'm just going to go through this a little bit, but we see that it gets to a point that God's not with Saul, but he's in with Jonathan, his son. And it looks like Jonathan has an understanding of God greater than his father, which is the first time we've seen this. Remember, Eli knew the Lord and everything else, but got corrupted. His sons were already corrupt. Samuel knew the Lord, never got corrupted, But Samuel's sons, 2 of them, were corrupt. This time, we see the first king of Israel. I'm going to reserve judgment on him because we're walking through. We're going to give Saul a chance to redeem himself. But it seems Jonathan's got this. And he goes in and he takes out these people. Now, we go to verse 14. And we're going to see Saul with his selfish curse here. And I need somebody to read for me verses 1 through 7.
When the day came that Jonathan, the son of Saul, said to the young man who was carrying his armor, "Come and let us cross over the Philistines' garrison that is on the other side." But he did not tell his father. Saul was staying in the outskirts of Gibeah, under the pomegranate tree, which is in Migron. And the people who were with him were about 600 men. And Ahijah,
Yes.
the son of Ichabod's brother, the son of Phinehas, the son of Eli, the priest of the Lord in Shiloh, was wearing an ephod. How do you spell that? Ephod. And the people did not know that Jonathan had gone. How far down did you say?
To 7.
Between the passes by which Jonathan sought to cross over the Philistines' garrison, there was a sharp crag on the one side and a sharp crag on the other side. And the name of the one was Bozez, and the name of the other, Seneh. And one crag rose on the north opposite Michmash, and the other on the south opposite Geba. Then Jonathan said to the young man who was carrying his armor, "Come and let us cross over to the garrison of these uncircumcised. Perhaps the Lord will work for us, for the Lord is not restrained to save by many or by few." His armor bearer said to him, "Do all that is in your heart, turn yourself, and I am here with you according to your desire."
Thank you, Bonnie, and thank you. Give her a hand for pronouncing all those big words, crazy words there.
I prayed when you said it, I could do it.
So, but here we go again. We have now Jonathan. Remember, we think Jonathan's got a good hold on this. And he goes in there and says, "Hey, we're going to go ahead, separate from the group here, and we're going to go into this area." But what does verse 6 say to you guys? Verse 6 tells me, what does it say?
He has faith, he says, perhaps God will work for us, and he's put his faith in him.
Oh, so, thank you, Mike. So we're seeing that that Jonathan is believing in God right now, versus Saul, who took it upon himself, did his own little sacrifice, and said, "Hey, I got this. Sacrifice done, everything should be okay." Jonathan is saying, hopefully God will be with us. I believe God will do this. This is totally different, right? You almost want to say, wait a minute, you sure that's your daddy? Your faith in God is strong. Your dad's kind of winging it. It's not a very positive
Jonathan's
thing.
being kind of submissive and almost just whatever God's will is, you want to do what you want.
So he's basically saying, "I trust you, Lord." How many of us need to trust God more in that? How many of us get scared when you're doing that with God?
I'm there.
I'm shaking like, this looks straight, but this is my faith hand right here. So that's neither here or there. So while this is going on, we got this whole fight, everything else, he's going through, and we get down to verse, and I'm going to make sure I nail this right here. We get down a little bit more in the story, and around verse 24, "And the men of Israel were distressed that day, for Saul had adjured the people, saying," now they're in the midst of battle, they've been fighting all this time, and he says to them, "Cursed be the man that eateth any food until evening, that I may be avenged on my enemies." So none of the people tasted any food. Chris, do you think that was a good idea?
No.
I understand he wants people to be focused, and war, you gotta be focused, right? You can't have somebody going to the buffet table in the middle of the battle. But, yes, but you have to have energy, you have to take breaks, at some point recharge a little bit, because it is war. You are fighting, what is it, 30,000, 6,000 sand people, you know.
And who
Yes.
were they fasting for? I mean, what were they fasting for?
Saul's glory, I guess. Oh, I'm sorry, we're gonna withhold our opinion on Saul here, but
Because it doesn't say that they're doing it unto the Lord, it just says, hey, it just says, I'm telling you to fast.
and the verse before it says, the Lord saved Israel that day, and the battle passed over unto the left of it. So God's still in this, but Saul is making this, he's cursing people now. Does Saul have any authority to curse people? No. If Saul doesn't have any authority to curse people, then why is he doing it? Because he's Saul. He's his own. Well, I'm trying to hold back judgment on this because Saul, we're trying to give Saul a chance to tell his story here. And granted, it hasn't worked out too well, but this is what we're dealing with. So, he's telling this, and here's something else here. You get down to verse 27 where it said, but Jonathan heard not when his father charged the people with the oath. We might have a problem here. Wherefore he put forth the end of his rod that was in his hand, and they had stumbled upon some honeycomb and had honey dripping down. Now nobody's supposed to eat, but Jonathan hasn't heard that. So, and dipped it in honeycomb and put his hand to his mouth, and his eyes were enlightened. He was strengthened, he was refueled. He had energy was back in him, while everybody else has been starving, been exhausted, need to be refueled, need to be replenished. But remember, Jonathan had inherited this whole thing. So, then said Jonathan, my father hath troubled the land. See, I pray you, how mine eyes have been enlightened, because I have tasted a little of this honey. How much more, if haply the people have eaten freely today of the spoil of the enemies which they found? For had there not been now a much greater slaughter among the Philistines? Dad, you don't understand military might and how to run this thing. If you feed the people that have more energy, then we could chuck it out more of the enemy. And this is not good. Verse 32 is 32 and 33 are also very telling. It says, and the people flew upon the spoil, literally flew upon or rushed upon the plunder, if you will, and took sheep and oxen and calves and slew them on the ground, and the people did eat them with the blood. Oopsie. Would that be classified as, having your brother, making your brother stumble possibly? Because the Israelites were not supposed to be tasting blood, right? But we're hungry, right? I mean, we're hungry. So this is Saul's fault again. I mean, some people may like a little blood in their meat, but Then they told Saul, saying, behold, the people sin against the Lord. Oh, crap. Behold, the people sin against the Lord, in that they eat with the blood. And he said, ye have transgressed. Roll a great stone unto me this day. Oopsie. We have a problem. This is the second time Saul has screwed this up. But, you know, we'll get to something positive, I'm pretty sure. We're trying to think about this, because once again, Saul is using his own way instead of God's way. Yes, Mike?
Yeah, well, it's telling you 24, the word, I don't know, in your translation, if it's like mine, but the word I is always used. Before I have avenged myself on my enemies. This battle is about him getting avenged on his enemies. It was I.
Could be a little rough. I mean, it could be just a use of the language. I don't exactly mean I, right? It doesn't mean that Saul is just more focused on himself. It can't be that much, Mike. It just, you know, just a little. Well,
Right here in mine, it says, I have revenge on my enemies.
oh.
So there was all his enemies too.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. He did go into this country on his own, right? He didn't really seek the Lord. He did his own sacrifice, and now he put the curse on everybody. And okay, we can still work this out. And let's see. We get down to verse 36 or 35, and he said, "And Saul built an altar unto the Lord. The same was the first altar that he built unto the Lord. And Saul said, Let us go down after the Philistines by night and spoil them until the morning light, and let us not leave a man of them. And they said, Do whatsoever good unto thee. Then said the priest, Let us draw near hither unto God. And God asked counsel of God, Shall I go down after the Philistines? Wilt thou deliver them into the hand of Israel?" So you see, Saul understands this. He knows what the religious stance is. He's going to ask God. Mike, what's the answer to that? This is going to prove that Saul is a great guy and him and God, everything's going well, right? Right. Verse 37, what does it say in the answer here?
Shall I go down to the Philistines? Will you give them into Israel's hands? But God did not answer him that day.
Okay. Didn't answer him, huh?
No, and he's feeling him out, and he knows. I think God knows what he's going to do, but he's still talking to God at least right now.
Yeah, he's still talking to God, but you know, that doesn't mean there's a big problem with this. Everything's going well. And then we get to 43. Then Saul said to Jonathan, Tell me what thou hast done. And Jonathan told him and said, I did but taste a little honey with the end of the rod that was in my hand, and lo, I must die. Remember Saul's curse? Anybody touch this, get anything to eat before my enemies are basically done with? They die. And now Jonathan has confessed that he's done this and he's got to die. Let's go back again. Did Saul have any authority to do this? No. No. Is Jonathan an innocent party in this? Innocent party.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because so now, and yeah, this is what, number 4 now we're going into? Number 4 problem here? Number 4, too many to count. And the people said unto Saul, Shall Jonathan die for who hath wrought this great salvation in Israel? God forbid, as the Lord lives, there shall not one hair of his head fall to the ground, for he hath wrought with God this day. So the people rescued Jonathan that he died not. This is what happens when you trust in God a lot of times, folks. It looks like you're going to be taken out, and God just steps in. Jonathan, who was just getting something to eat here. He didn't know about this, and next thing you know, he says, oh, I gotta die. I've done this since my dad has cursed this thing, even though his dad's not supposed to do that. And now he's just saved by the people. The people saved him. Should have been the other way around. I know we're kind of legalistic. We deal with our oaths and everything else, but should the king been able to say this was an honest mistake? Let's kind of, it's the people that have to remind King Saul that this is not the way you do things. So Saul took the kingdom over Israel and fought against all his enemies on every side, against Moab, and against the children of Ammon, and against Edom, and against the kings of Zobah, and against the Philistines, and wheresoever he turned himself, he vexed them. He basically fought for this and kept going and going and going. Chapter 15 is the final chapter in this whole thing. And long story short, verse 3, Saul is told to go out and smite the Amalek, and utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, animal, and the thing you sit on, or ride it on. I'm reading King James, so I have to keep going. So, here's the deal. The Lord says, you gotta eliminate this people. Now, the first obvious question, let's go with it. Why is God saying everybody down to babies and children must be eliminated?
What was the question?
Question was, we're up here in chapter 15, 1 Samuel, and Amalek is there, and God basically tells Saul, you must eliminate Amalek and everybody in there. You have to eliminate all the people.
He didn't want any of the Amalekites to remain because they were evil.
Ah, so evil. But, most people do evil works. It doesn't mean you have to wipe out a whole city. Do we, Mike?
Well, if you don't want the offspring, the children, to grow up and retain the heritage of the Amalekite, maybe later overturn you, you want all of the offspring to be killed, and the animals are the best animals, and all animals killed, because then you can't profit on all the booty that you've attained. No treasure for you. Get rid of all the treasure.
And I kind of see it like, as in a spiritual text, when I was reading about the yeast, like if the yeast rises, even if it's a small bit of leaven, as the scripture talks about, a little bit of leaven, that's what I see when it's talking about wiping out all a particular type of people, because especially if they were like very idolaters and had, like you said, that heritage and that belief that other gods and retain it. Any small piece of leaven in that aspect, it would grow over time into that, just like sin.
Right.
Well, we're seeing that now, right? I mean, isn't that what happened, is that some of them weren't wiped out when?
And remember the Canaanites, they were supposed to totally wipe them out. But because they slacked on it, this evil kept spreading and spreading and spreading. So it became almost like a cancer. And God's saying, we got to wipe this evil out. This evil has got to come to an end. So we have Saul, and he goes out there, and he takes the army, and guess what? He does it. He wipes out everything, right?
I want to comment. No. He had the big cows.
What?
The big cows.
What do you mean? Saul doesn't wipe
And
out
the
everything?
king, and the king too.
Let's read verse 9 here.
Everything went after.
But Saul and the people spared Agag, and the best of the sheep, and of the oxen, of the fatlings, and the lambs, and all that was good, and would not utterly destroy them, and everything that was vile and refuse, that they destroyed utterly. Now, let me just play, okay, I'm going to get in trouble with this. Devil's advocate here. I mean, come on, we get rid of the bad stuff, we take out a couple people, that's right, I mean, that's cool, right? I mean, this is good, Jim, this is good prime rib, and steak, and hamburgers, and pork, and all, sheep, and it's okay. to keep a little bit of booty, right?
He didn't trust God to provide.
But, you know, I mean, you know, there was that one small case with this guy named Achan, right? Just a little small case. You know, what happened with this guy named Achan when it was under Joshua? Oh, he was wiped out? A whole household was stoned to death. I mean, that was just minor. I mean, Saul's just, you know, he is the king. He can do this, right? He does have the authority to do that, right? I mean, if God, maybe he felt God was a little too rough, and Samuel was a little too rough, so he decided to change it up, right? It's okay. It's just relative, right? Truth is relative, right?
The question is, how's that working for you?
Okay, let's just see what happens in verse 10. The 10 and 11 should be really good. I mean, it should be great stuff. Then came the word of the Lord unto Samuel, saying, It repented me that I have set up Saul to be king, for he is turned back from following me, and hath not performed my commandments. And it grieved Samuel, and he cried unto the Lord all night. Okay, that one, we could probably take a tissue out there and just cry about that. I mean, God is talking about, it just hurt me that he's done this and he's turned, but it hurt Samuel worse. Samuel cared about Saul. He wanted to see Saul do well. He knew this was a new thing, this king thing, and having a king that they could see and trying to be like everybody else. And he wanted to see Saul succeed, but it just hurt so bad for him. But verse 13 should have some good news, right? Yes, hopefully. I'm trying to keep uplifted here, okay? And Samuel came to Saul and said unto him, Blessed be thou the Lord, I have performed the commandment of the Lord. Saul's done this. He said, I've done this, right? Right, Greg? He's done this. This is good news, right? And Samuel says, What meaneth then this bleating of the sheep in my ears, and the lowing of the oxen which I hear? I'll tell you in real world terms. What you talking about, Willis? Are you kidding me? I'm hearing animals. I expect stuff to be dead right now. Why am I hearing sheep and oxen? What's the problem here? And Saul said, They have brought them from the Amalekites, for the people spared the best of the sheep and of the oxen to sacrifice unto the Lord thy God, and the rest we have utterly destroyed. Was there anything wrong with that statement in 15?
Why did he not kill a dad or a dog or whatever?
He just thought that, him and the people just thought it was a better idea. It was a great idea. He said, we keep it as sheep and ox, and they're good. We don't want to.
Did he later on use them as, like, to do work and stuff like that?
Oh, no. He kept everybody alive, but remember our statement earlier. They're evil.
Right.
Yeah.
It's sinful people. These are very sinful people. They need to be wiped out. Why are we keeping the food? Why are we keeping all this other stuff? He wanted to keep the stuff, Mike.
I can see the spoils and the booty. The king, I never could figure out why I kept the king except for one of two things. One, maybe for a future ransom, if there who he ransomed him for. And number two, there are some camaraderies between high-level people. Sometimes they respect each other. He may have respected Agag for some reason.
But this is still wrong.
Yeah.
But verse 15 has a little interesting side note where he says, For the people spared the best of the sheep and the oxen to sacrifice unto the Lord thy God. Thy God.
So he actually sacrificed stuff that he kept that he wasn't supposed to have at all.
Yeah, he wasn't supposed to have this, but you're missing the point there. The Lord thy God.
Yeah.
Everybody see where I'm going here? Yeah, yeah.
He said that the Lord is your God, not that he's my God. Oh.
I thought we all were in this thing together, Saul. He said the Lord thy God, not my God. We got a problem here. We done put a fool in this very important position that's saying it's the Lord thy God. Wait a minute, aren't you Hebrew? Yeah. Or better yet, I'll bring in today's thing. Aren't you a Christian? Yeah. But why do you believe in this? Oh, well, yeah, but you know, that's your God. And, well, excuse me. We have a problem here. And yes, I'll say, Houston, we have a big problem. Then Samuel said unto Saul, stay, I will tell thee what the Lord has said to me this night. And Saul's like, okay, man, yeah, tell me what he said. Clueless, right there. And Samuel said, when thou wast little in thy own sight, wasn't thou not made the head of the tribes of Israel, and the Lord anointed thee king over Israel? Remember that, Saul? Remember you weren't nothing, Mr. Big Man? Mr. riding on the high horse? He gets a statue out of this deal later on, because he wanted a statue in it, because he's king. Okay, I'm going to get a little biased. Let me get back in the middle here. And the Lord sent thee on a journey and said, go and utterly destroy the sinners. Ooh. He used a very dangerous word, sinners. Chris, they were sinners.
What?
The sinners. Destroy the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they be consumed. Sinners. The Amalekites. There's no working around this. They're evil. Quote Suicide Squad. They're bad guys. That's what they do. They're evil. Wherefore then didst thou not obey the voice of the Lord, but didst fly upon the spoil, and didst evil in the sight of the Lord? This is number 5. Number 5 thing we have read in this thing. You know what was the good part about Saul? First 4 chapters of chapter 13. He got 4 verses. 4 friggin' verses. A lot about, he served 1 year, and then we get to the 2nd year. We've read in this account 5 bad things. If you're making a list, it's 5 so far. And Saul said unto Samuel, yea, I have obeyed the voice of the Lord, and have gone the way which the Lord sent me, and have brought Agag, the king of Amalek, and have utterly destroyed the Amalekites. The river, the Nile is just not a river in Egypt. Are we missing something here, or is he just totally clueless? Didn't he just say kill everybody? Maybe I'm missing something here. But the people, wait a minute, Saul's gotta work this out here. But the people took of the spoil, sheep and oxen, the chief of the things which should have been utterly destroyed, to sacrifice unto the Lord thy God in Gilgal. Thy God. Saul, I thought you were a Hebrew. I thought you were Israel. I thought you were part of us. Thy God? Roberta, thy God? Okay, this is. Thank you. And Samuel said, go back. And Samuel said, hath the Lord has great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices, as in obeying the voice of the Lord. Behold, to obey is better than what?
Sacrifice.
And to hearken than the fat of... I guess we can't have no barbecue, Saul. I guess, you know, you can't go against what God said. For rebellion is as the sin of what? Yeah. And stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, he hath also rejected thee from being king. In other words, you're fired. You're out of here. That's it. It's over for you. And Saul said unto Samuel, I have sinned. Duh. For I have transgressed the commandment of the Lord and thy words, because I feared the people and obeyed their voice.
Wait a minute.
Kind of, well, see what had happened was, you know, I kind of got in some trouble, but, you know, the people, you know, I did it wrong, but people were with me on this, so, you know, vote for me. Yes, people maybe do. Yes. Now therefore I pray thee, pardon my sin, and turn again with me, that I may worship the Lord. Yeah, he would. I may worship the Lord. We in trouble. Let me break that down for you. That's called we in trouble, and we need to just take the hit on this, and then afterwards, Don will continue doing the usual stuff. Right, Don? Because
right. You know, this guy, now there are probably others that I don't know about, but King David messed up really bad. But when he got caught, he said, I'm the man. He didn't lay it on anyone else. He said, I'm the man. But Saul now wants to bring other folks in and, you know, help me out in my sin, you know.
Well, it was the
know,
pizza
Adam
guy.
and Eve and all, you know. But this guy, you know, David didn't say, he didn't blame anybody but himself.
But,
Which
you know,
was the only person to be blamed.
But, you know, it could have been the pizza guy, the armor bearer, you know, somebody, you know, Colonel Mustard in the, you know, closet with the machete or something. I don't know. Maybe he had a wrench. Saul makes a lot of excuses. And Samuel said unto Saul, I will not return with thee, for thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, and the Lord hath rejected thee from being king over Israel. You're still fired. And Samuel turned about to go away. He laid, which is Saul, hold upon the skirt of his mantle, and it rent, tore. And this is a big moment here. And Samuel said unto him, the Lord hath rent the kingdom of Israel from thee this day, and have given it to a neighbor of thine, that is better than you.
Wow.
We got somebody better doing this. We got a man earlier said, after God's own heart. All because Saul wanted to have it, a popular song said, his way. And he's lost the kingdom. And also the strength of Israel will not lie nor repent, for he is not a man that he should repent. Then he said, Saul, I have sinned. Duh, again. Yet honor me now, I pray thee, before the elders of my people and before Israel, and turn again with me, that I may worship the Lord thy God. You know I've done bad. I have sinned. But look, let's not take this before the people. Can we keep this internally? You know, we'll keep it together till, you know, the administration is over with. And then, you know, and then we can keep worshiping the Lord. We can go back to worshiping the Lord your God, and they do all these other things. But let's keep the press and the media out of this, okay?
Before my house Saul was chosen by God.
Ah.
People have wanted him. And God has given them Saul, but Saul wouldn't do everything to please everyone for the Lord, because he wasn't chosen.
Because he wasn't Saul's. God said, yes, ma'am. God gave him a king.
God, whoever king said Saul was my pig.
Saul was kind of, God was trying to teach him a lesson, huh?
God said, you know, you pick this guy, this is what's going to happen. And if you sin, y'all,
Yeah.
you're up a creek without a paddle. So we have this thing, and I'm going to finish this up, and thank you for hanging with me on this one. But remember, he said, the Lord thy God. We only said it one time that it was his God. One time. Was that about 4 times or 3 times to 1? We have a problem there with the math. Then so Samuel turned again after Saul, and Saul worshiped the Lord. Thank God. There you go. Proves he's a great guy. Oh, well. So Samuel, let's see. Then said Samuel, bring ye hither to me Agag, the king of the Amalekites. And Agag came unto him delicately. And Agag said, surely the bitterness of death is past. Hey, Samuel, hey, I am so glad that I am good. You know, I hope we can work this all out amicably. You know, we don't have to do this. And Samuel said, as thy sword hath made women childless, so shall thy mother be childless among women. And Samuel hewed Agag in pieces before the Lord in Gilgal. Okay. Anybody wants to shop at Agag? No. Okay. But here's the thing. I think this is one of the few times you see the priest having to do something that a king is supposed to be doing. We're all out of sorts here. The priest is not supposed to be doing this. He had a king that was supposed to handle the problem. He's not handling the problem. How many of our leaders are not handling the problem today? We got kids getting shot in Chicago. We got people getting shot in the back of cars. We got cops being sniped at, everything. But everybody keeps going different ways. Nobody's handling the dang problem. Our churches are not handling the dang problem. Will somebody step up and handle the dang problem? Okay, let me calm down. We're getting in trouble here. Then Samuel went to Ramah, and Saul went up to his house to Gibeah of Saul. And Samuel came no more to see Saul till the day of his death. Nevertheless, Samuel mourned for Saul, and the Lord repented, basically regretted that he made Saul king over Israel. Folks, this is as real as a heart attack. If God's got you called to do something, do it. Trust him in this. Don't be like Saul. Please, don't be like Saul. Saul didn't even know he had a chance to be in that line forever. Never knew it. But he decided to do things Saul's way. And make sure you're really in the faith. I'm not saying check yourself before you wreck yourself. Do it. Because if not, you're going to end up like Saul. It becomes just religion to you. You just show up on Sunday. You just show up on Wednesday night. You just show up for the little pass-out thing because it's a good thing. It makes me look good. People say, hey, look at that guy. Forget that. This is a spiritual warfare fight, and we need the real deal. Deal with it. I'm not talking about those who are dealing and struggling with the things that are their sin or anything else, because God's going to walk you through that and work out your salvation and everything else. I'm talking about you just there for a photo op. We got people running elections that are just there for a photo op. While children are dying, mothers are dealing with the problems they're dealing with, and our world is just heading straight there. And I said it earlier, you want to talk about, everybody wants to talk about the revolution, you better deal with the revelation, because there's a judgment coming. and that judge don't play. Forget your revolution. The revelation will come. Let's go before the Lord in prayer. Sorry, I'm just.
Cedric.
Wait just a minute, we have one more.
I'm sorry.
Don, we have one more.
One?
One more?
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and do prayer, and then we'll just close and everything else, and we'll go from there. Thank you for your time and everything. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your word, and we thank you from this lesson of Saul. Let it not just be a fairy tale story, but for us to help us get our lives together where we need to be, and we're already on track to keep us on track, Lord. Saul did not know what greatness and riches you were willing to give him, but because he didn't trust in you and trusted in himself, and he even did like Peter did later in the New Testament. He looked at the waves and the waters instead of focusing on Jesus Christ and his God. Lord, let us focus and refocus our eyes upon you, and Lord, keep us in your path of righteousness. We ask all these things by the power and authority of the Lord Jesus Christ and his blood. Amen.